In an era defined by technological leaps, the impact of artificial intelligence on tomorrow's job landscape is undeniable. Every industry feels the tremors of automation, raising concerns about the relevance of current schooling systems. As AI continues to encroach on traditional job roles, there's a growing risk that the skills being imparted today might become obsolete tomorrow. Our education system must pivot urgently, focusing on cultivating adaptable thinking, creativity, and problem solving. By nurturing these skills, we arm our youth against the uncertainty of a job market where AI has a role in every profession, ensuring they can navigate these uncharted waters with confidence and purpose. Now, ladies and gentlemen, which of us do you think wrote this text?
And please answer. It is a real question. Just point at whoever you think it is.
Absolutely.
Anyone else, please? Well, he did get the cat out of the bag. It is ChatGPT. And it is absolutely amazing, but so very scary that ChatGPT can do that. Because if it can replicate an action like speaking, writing, a script like this, introducing a topic when all I gave it was a one-line prompt that I'm anchoring at a prestigious event and please tell me what to say. That is really scary because if ChatGPT can encroach into our territory, into territory that's so inherently creative as speaking on a stage, on a desk, then we have to imagine what scary effect it could have on all of human jobs everywhere. To speak on that exact scary effect and hopefully give us a ray of hope to how to proceed from it, we would like to invite Mr. Anand Krishnaswamy.
Mr. Krishnaswamy did MCA from University of Pune. After that, he worked with Covansys as a team lead. For 14 plus years in the software industry, he played his role in teams that created business value in writing software, software consulting, inventing and creating patents and insightful articles. It drives his interest in data science and data analytics. Request you upon the stage, sir.
Please.
Thank you. I have absolutely no clue where they got that data from, and if that was ChatGPT, clearly it's outdated. But yeah, my work largely is in the K-12 space, and for a lot of folks who've worked with me and known me, this is a different topic. I wouldn't be talking about K-12. This is beyond that, and it's a mix of two things that sort of work with this particular conference, which is AI, and we've been talking about AI yesterday. The last time AI was used very regularly was in Maharashtra when children called out to their mothers. But apart from that, you have higher education, which is where humanities actually starts taking form, right? Up to K-12, humanities is a bunch of choice of subjects from after which you could do anything else. So that's the reason why I thought combining these two for this particular conference made a lot of sense. I'm going to really go fast through 67% of the slides that I have, and then slow down for the last 33%, right? It's not new. Technology has always been replacing jobs. A lot of folks would see this picture and you'd know what this is about. This has been happening forever, right? We've had, and Arnab mentioned it as well, you've had scribes, right? Before the printing press, people still read. They'd have scribes write out the entire books, and they were replaced by the printing press. This didn't stop with human beings. Pigeon Express was replaced by all kinds of messaging systems, including your phone. Then there's one other thing which is we still see in some places, but it's quite likely to go away soon, which is that of the bank teller, and that's being replaced by the ATM, right? Now, how many of you can guess what are these people doing and what technology replaced them? Exactly. So these people were hired. You tell them, can you wake me up at 5 o'clock or an hour before the train would come into the station or something of that sort. They'd come and knock on your window. They'd shoot peas at your window, or they'd just come and disturb you. And of course, they were replaced by the alarm clock, right? And they were further the alarm clock is now further replaced by our mobile phones, largely waking you up. So it's not about the tool. We could keep getting tools. It's how we use it. Right? And this is extremely important. So but the difference has to be noted. And Amita ma'am yesterday spoke about how electricity And all of these, and the automobile were also there. But the important thing is this graph. You see, the rapidity with which technology has changed over the past couple of years is extremely important to note. Just in the past 2 years, 90% of the digital data that exists has been created and has been stored here. You need to realize that. And the other facet of this problem is also the population growth. At that particular point, there were very few people as such on Earth, and amongst them, a much smaller fraction were involved in the automobile industry. So when the automobile industry was thwarted, very few people actually were affected directly. Whereas by the time you've come down to 2000, 2005, 2010, 2020, nearly everything has been digitized, and suddenly you're saying it's all going to go away, right? So that's where, and the population has grown crazily, we know that. So if AI and tech are indeed going to come and take away or seem to threaten our jobs, what does it actually look like? We had this whole discussion yesterday about which class of people would be affected most. Ravi opined that it would be the middle class. It's less about the class and the kind of jobs that you look. Everyone seated here, all the principals, are working and trying to get their students into top-notch universities which would lead into white-collar jobs, or at best, the golden-collar jobs. Yep. And you're doing a fantastic job. You will not be able to convince any parent that we're going to take your child in and we'll make a fantastic mason out of him or her. You're not going to be able to convince, or rather, you'll be convincing them to go to the next school, right? And this is exactly what's going to happen. These two are going to largely be wiped out. And the golden-collar jobs are also getting strongly affected. Right now, that doesn't mean we all rush to becoming carpenters, right? What is it that we could do? That's what we're going to look at. So, and this is some heavyweight testimony to what Ravi said yesterday, right? It is the middle class, it is the white-collar jobs that are going to be hit. So, a lot of artificial intelligence, of course, is shrouded. We're trying to even understand what it means. A lot of us have been talking about it. Few of us have actually worked with it and understood the depth of it. But here goes. Most people getting into engineering programs, whatever be the engineering, they want to end up becoming, programmers. They want to get into the IT industry. That's going, right? GitHub, Copilot, all of that stuff coming in, that's taking away all of what you had. The next set of things, they want to become accountants, investment bankers, they want to be, fund managers. That's going. The next thing that you want to become, medical diagnosis, right? Even to the extent of surgery. All of that is being taken over by robotics as well as artificial intelligence. Radiology is being done much better with AI than with human beings. Think of it, if you have nanometer MRI scans, it's much better for a machine to actually go through it and see anything that has a pattern to become something cancerous. So that's going too. You want to become, okay, let's leave all this. As long as there are human beings, there will be fights. Let's get into the legal space. Sure, all of these things that you're looking at here, they're going. All right, let's get into the more aesthetic side. Let's get into design. Let's get into UI. Let's get into UX, architecture. This is fantastic. This is going. You want to get into the pharmaceutical business. You want to do a lot of bioresearch. That's going. And I believe he's not here, but we had Thomas yesterday basically share how a whole bunch of protein strands are being replicated by AI, which normally would have been one person's lifetime effort. So that's the impact that we're talking about. So this is very particularly intended to scare you, right? I'm not going to gloss over it. It's a wake-up call for people to realize, and this is the thing that we were talking with Mahesh as well, that do not think that it's just about finding out, Mahesh Peri, who was talking about careers, it's not just about what are the best institutes that are available and the right information, it's also what is the longevity of those options that you have. Because someone's going to go into it for 4 or 5 years, coming out to know that there's nothing there, right? So you need to be aware of these things. So I'm going to go really fast here. So higher education, as you see, it needs to be reimagined, and it's happening, and we'll look at some of the issues here. So if you look at it from a very high view, right, you have K-12 largely focusing on learning how to learn, and you have higher education on learning how to create or add value, whether to society, whether to commerce, whether to anything, right? Now, you're doing all this in a very structured, linear fashion. And what you end up having are a bunch of highly structured students being sent out into a very ambiguous world, right? They're very structured. They're expecting that if I did this, I get this. If they've said that there is a test on Monday, it'll be only on Monday, so on and so forth. None of this stuff is really true in the real world. So what is it that ails? I'm just going to list 4 different categories of issues. Number 1, again, as I said, linear thinking, right? We start with 10, then there's 12. You want to get into whatever, engineering, commerce, whatever, then you do your MBA, you get a job, you do job, till you plop, right? That's the linearity with which you've usually been thinking. The next thing is that you want to pack as much. K-12 does that. Kya pata kab zarurat pad jaye? To pack, learn this also, everything. It's all packed. Your higher education does the same thing. There is no concept of pace. There is no such thing as let this person learn it at their own pace. Let's just pack as much as possible into a 4-year, 3-year course and send this person out, and thereafter they're good. If you need analogies, one analogy is like saying for the next 4 years, we'll put you on a diet and on an exercise regime. Just do that, and then for the rest of your life, you're never going to have any health problems. Now, as much as we'd like to believe that, that never happens. The third thing is this crystal ball. We all expect a 17-year-old to somehow exactly know what they want to do for the next 50 years in their lives. It's absolute, and you have to know it well. Because if you don't know it well and you keep changing, you're really called as someone who never measured up. Finally, after all this that you think is a phenomenal strategy, you're sending your children out and the industry still comes back and says, what on earth, you've sent really bad students to us. And it's not working. So how do we tackle this? What might help? So let's take the first one. Let's remove the linearity. Let's bring in different forms of learning. Let's try different paths that people can take to be able to do this. Something Stanford is exploring, and that's called as open loop universities. Please look it up. I won't go into, but there was videos that I had to do, but we don't have enough time. Next is greedy packing. Now, greedy packing is something that can be very easily replaced by something called as micro-credentials. I don't have to pack everything now, but I can earn one thing at a time based on the kind of value that I see, and then I keep constructing that value because I can go up to a path and then take a turn. Whereas when I invest in a 4-year, I can't turn, right? You're even expected to know your major by the end of the first year. The crystal ball that we're trying to look at, and this is essentially what my daughter, my 3-year-old, and she likes making guacamole. Avocado ripens in 8 days is God knows whose statement. It never does. There is this thing of it's unripe, that's gone. If you miss that split second, your guacamole is gone for a toss, right? The same thing is with people. This notion that for 4 years is exactly what it takes to make that person employable and skilled is somebody's definition which doesn't work anymore, right? And hence you need multiple paths through this thing. And finally, a handshake. And when I'm talking about a handshake with the industry, it's not just about better visits and things like that. If the industry, I'd say something as radical as this, if the industry really cares about getting the kind of skilled people, they should be very well be willing to pay for their education and their path up to that particular hiring. So, I'm going to skip over these, you can call them, because if people are saying, okay, what are you going to call this degree? You can call it all of these things, I'm giving you options. You can even skip over the path in between. We can come up with creative names. Now, what you need essentially, and some universities are trying, they're taking baby steps towards this, you need very strong foundational courses. Foundational courses of this sort and appreciation. Appreciation is basically the appreciation of life around us and how things are formed. So when you have very strong foundational and appreciation courses, you've laid a foundation, the necessary diving board for a person to go out and explore and see what is it that they'd want to do. Then you could lay it, and none of this is really fixed to a year. When I'm saying 1, it's not 1 year, it's phase 1. It could be any number of years. You go through the preparatory where you're doing your foundational and appreciation courses, then you can take a break. Go do an apprenticeship with someone, right? And then you come back and then you go deeper because now you have real world understanding, you've got your theory as well. You now go deeper into a next set of modules that could go for as many years as you want to. Then you take a break again, maybe go work with someone that you want to collaborate with startups or new ventures or new idea, and then come back, customize your entire study, do the same, specialize, and then you want to go philosophize because you're suddenly getting very meta about it. Go ahead and do this. Now, what would this require? Every competency would need to lead to a micro-credential. You're no longer saying a BTech civil engineering. It will have to be at a micro-credential level. You then can assemble micro-credentials, and you can get micro-credentials from anyone. So I get my first micro-credentials from IIT Kanpur. And then the next one can be from Ambedkar University. And the next one can be from PSG, because that's the area where I was working. It's easier for me to go there, get my credential. This entire thing of having to move to this one location is something that you don't have to look at. You move on to micro-credentials combining into things called as meta-competencies. Your meta-competencies, all of these can be then formed into degrees in other format, right? And age is no bar. I'm going to skip over this because these are just examples. You can have them later. This is how you'd have it in different years, but then this is how you'd assemble them into degrees or whatever else that you want. The same thing that you earned, which went into one of the degrees or something, can be part of another degree as well. You see that orange one out there? And there's this. And if you think all of this just stops here, you can keep acquiring as much as you want for the rest of your life. And they keep forming into greater specializations. And if you thought this is just my, morning shower. Thank you. If you thought it was just a morning shower idea, that's not true. These are universities that are actually doing this. It's baby steps into this space, but they're doing fantastic work. And of course, you know the whole bunch of MOOCs that are already being accepted in the real world. So as much as things are scary, and they'll get better, these are things that we need to look at as something that's possibly going to happen, and how K-12 can also prepare our folks for this. Thank you.
Mr. Sandeep sir and Mr. Ravi to please. Oh, felicitate sir.